Here's some crazy stuff. We're almost 25% through the year. Does that kind of freak you out a little bit? Does for me. I said, so we're in this, I'm going to talk a little bit about seasons too for you to consider. And this is going to kind of wrap up part of what I've been working with you guys on. And so what this, in January, we kind of did a compelling vision. That was kind of our focus, right? And part of the goal of that was to get you to just start just stretching your mind, playing with your mind, right? And I'll give you an example. I was asked to be in this Christian men's business group. I hopped on Zoom over the weekend, and one of the young men there was saying, yeah, is there any exercise that can help me with changing my desires? I'm just kind of finding I'm getting comfortable, and what can I do to just dream more, right? We're called to dream, right? We're called to have visions, and we're going to do some of that stuff later. And so in that, I said, hey man, you want my full opinion? We'll get to this, the truth, which is the first part of this conversation. We're going to talk about getting real, getting honest. And some of you guys heard me talk about this before, because I do have a structure through all this stuff. So there'll be some repeat, but it's all important in the message. And so I said, hey, can we get super honest about where you're at? Yeah, let's go for sure. And I said, okay, how much money did you make last year? And he kind of, right? If I walked around the room, I said, how much money did you make last year? People, we got uncomfortable. Is it the truth? Yeah, right? Whether you got a W-2 or a tax return, so you got something that says a dollar amount, right? I can pull up my Chase account, and there's facts, right? How are things going? You can go, things are good. Let's look at your Chase account. Ooh, right? That's the honest, the truth. And so I share this, and I'm going to go a little bit into the story of this young man, is our ability to get honest is not real good, usually, right? We're usually looking for a way to kind of dance around. I did an exercise with a guy too, same situation. I said, hey, if I pulled your wife up here, and I said, I want you to pick out things you don't like about your wife. He's like, I couldn't do it. I said, well, no, it's hard, it's tough, because you're like, well, hey, she's great, she's this. It's like, hey, man, she's had 3 kids. Whatever there's a story, and we're not going to do that to your wife. But with your business, with your behavior, with your habits, we need to get super, super honest, because if we're lying about where we're at, we will never get where we want to go. So I asked this young man, he said, $81,000 a year. I said, cool. That's what it actually is. And I said, I want to paint a picture. I'm going to show you where the challenge is with your dreaming. He's like, okay. And so I said, if I had a job for you, right, I got a new job for you. It checks all the boxes. It's cool. The hours are great. You're going to love it. You're going to be fulfilled. You don't have to worry about where it's at. Nothing. No, take away all the thoughts of the what ifs, because that's where we get so caught up in the what ifs that it limits what we can do. So eliminate all the what ifs. It's just an awesome job. You're in the greatest position. How much money are you being paid for this job? You pick. How much money are you getting paid for this job? And whatever you want. This is it. You get to pick it. I was like, we're dreaming here. We're going big. He's like, okay. And I wrote down $80,000 a month. That's what I wrote down for him. Talked to him a little bit. Smart young man. And he's like, all right, I got it. I'm like, you ready? Does anyone want to guess what he said? Raise a hand. Raise a hand. Who wants to guess? What do you think? Almost. What do you think? He said 150,000. And I almost jumped through the Zoom at him. I said, listen, you have a self-worth problem. You have a belief system problem. He's like, what? I said, yeah. You sat there kind of like, I'm kind of getting comfortable in this lifestyle. 80 grand a month, or 80 grand a year, which is great money for some people, but you want to dream, you got to dream big. And I showed him, I pulled my piece of paper up and said, here's what I said for you, 80 grand a month. I talked to you for 10 minutes, and I believe you're worth $1 million a year. And he kind of, he was kind of lost for words. But the point being is we all, especially in some areas of our life, have this problem with how we stretch ourselves. And so what I wanted to do, with January was we're focused on this compelling vision. And last month we talked about identity, and all this stuff comes together because his ability to have a compelling vision was he couldn't even double his income. Hey, dude, wildest dreams, let me know. Just less than double, right? And it saddens my heart but I also can connect with that because I also can remember living a time in my life where it was all about survival. If I could just pay my bills. If I could just cover what do I got to do to like make ends meet? And unfortunately, that's the position of most people. And God definitely did not put us in that situation. Nowhere does it say survive, get by, just enough. It doesn't exist. It's never existed. And so what he does talk about is victory, abundance, and all these other things that we should be focused on. And our life will actually show if we believe it or not. Right? And sometimes it's in our hearts, because I know as a child, it was in my heart to do like wild stuff. Like still, over the weekend, my wife was asking me like, if you could go we did a vacation, we did a cruise in, 7-day cruise? That's long. I don't like a lot of people. I don't know if you guys have ever done the cruise. It was cool. We did a bonding thing with my kids, but like just too many people and not enough stuff productive to do. But it was good. I needed it. But she was like, if you go anywhere, like wildest trip, pick your wildest trip. I legit want to go to the moon. I want to go to the moon. She's like, I know, honey, but I want to go to the moon. How much money do I got to make so that I can book a trip to go to the moon, or at least go to outer space? I want to go out in space. Why not? Or then next was like Antarctica. I want to go there. Like I want to go. Like I don't care about Italy or Greece. I've been like it doesn't interest me. And I say that, but I've just this is years of work of conditioning my brain to go way out there. And then if I can figure out a way to do it, fantastic. And if I figure out a way to come short, it's still amazing, right? And I was explaining the same thing to my son because he's that super annoying 15-year-old age, and explaining to him that, like, dude, I had nobody in my life to lead me, pour into me, guide me, show me these things. I had no one to living by example, right, in my life, and he does. And I was like, my goal, I'm fighting tooth and nail, and started way later. I didn't even start thinking of getting my stuff together until I was 33, just to get to the moon. And I was like, but where you can go with this trajectory, so I say this part of this, especially young people or people starting a family, you have the opportunity to move so much further ahead so that your children can go further ahead. Right? And when we think about it, if we are not trying to significantly multiply, we're just being selfish, because just getting by is just for me. If I'm trying to significantly multiply, well, then I can help fund this, I can help do this, I can help these other people, I can do a lot of other things. And things for myself, which increases my spirit and gives me more confidence in what I can do. And so part of this frame that I've been creating with you guys is the ability to start stretching yourself into this compelling vision, to just kind of dream a little bit, have fun with it, and opening up the opportunity too to realize like your identity has to step into that, right? From I like cars, and I'll get the car thing. I may share that with you. I got a Ferrari late last year, and my wife said to me, she said, "Are we Ferrari people?" And I said, "Babe, we're what Ferrari people?" Meaning in my head, I'm thinking, I want to be like, hey, I'm going to go take the Ferrari. And that she's like, which one? And not because I need those Ferrari. I don't care. Just the other day, I was like, I could get rid of it. I'm already bored with it. Like, I don't care. They have no attachment to me, right? Like those things, it's an experience, but also like you got to do a certain amount of things right to get a Ferrari, period. And I want to do so many things right that I could go, I like that one and that one, right? I want the blue convertible and the red hardtop. Right? Like, I want to have that flexibility. But so if I'm going to say I want to do that, or I'm going to say I want to go to the moon, or I want to go to outer space and I want to just try that out, I have to actually look in, like, what's that take, right? If my dream's too big, and that's why I've said before, don't try to be a superhero or something like that, but outer space might be a little unrealistic, but I'm open to, if there's an opportunity, what do I have to do, right? And I can reverse engineer that and say, all right, cool, I got to make $1 million a day to go to space in 3 years. Like, whatever it might be. Elon Musk, I'm sure he could figure out how to do it if he wanted to do it. And so we can reverse engineer these things, but if we're so scared to dream if we're scared of like what that might look like for ourselves, it could be with our body. I mean, I've coached people for over 30 years on changing their body. And sometimes we can't envision what that body looks like. I've told you guys that before. I have them, I'm like, go search the internet, find someone with the body you want to have, screenshot it, send it to me. And so we know where we're trying to go, right? And let's stand in the mirror with our shirt off and say, here's where I'm at. That's the truth, right? And then going into that, so that's the getting into this, or I'm going to we're kind of going to close this first quarter. We're thinking of this thing as a business of we're just rattling frame, we're stretching our frame, stretching our mindset. I'm going to take you guys through a little exercise at the end, which would be probably super different for all you guys, but super like God will speak to you, I promise. But the point is just stretching that frame and getting you guys to just almost be playful with yourselves. And then today we're going to get honest with that playfulness, right? So we're kind of, it's like hey, I'm gonna start going to the gym. Can you come show me how to do it? You know what? I want you to go to the gym every day for 90 days and just try every machine. Just feel it out. Go there. Just get into it. Play with it. We're not trying to accomplish anything. And then the work starts. So after this meeting, the future meetings, the work is going to start. We're going to be pushing forward now that we've opened our minds and opened our eyes to like the opportunity that could be there if we can think a different way so that we can obtain a new identity, right? A better identity. And all of this is for Christ. And so I just want to set the stage for what we're going to do as we transition from compelling vision, identity, and now we're going to get really deep into getting clear with, it's like the fun, playful, dreaming part is over. We're going to get a little bit more serious, and then we can get more into the application side of things. I have 13 questions for you guys to ask yourself on point one, if those guys will throw those up there. And this is the first part, which is getting real, which is, maybe they'll get to it. I'll tell you about it first. So it's getting real, the truth, the facts, transparency. Going back to the bank account thing. Hey, how's things at work? Good. Really? Show me your bank account. Right? How are things with your marriage? Great. I could ask intimacy questions. Right? When's the last time you guys had a date night? We've been busy and kids got. So like, we're just conditioned, and really, especially in church, there's a lot of different areas where people will love to talk about their problems, but they won't want to talk about solving their problems, or they won't want to talk about their participation in their problems, or their lack of action of addressing their problems. The problem's easy, solution's hard. And so we want to get super real out there where we're at. And so this first one is like, I want to do something. Everybody got their phone out? Pull their phone out. Most people tell you to put your phone away. I want you to put your phone out, unless you're old school taking notes. You can do that too, but if you want to take a picture, I like the old school notes. I'm a note taker too. I carry the notepads around. So just take a picture of it so you have it. And if for some reason you lose it, feel free to email me, RTX, or Adam, no, it's rtx@revivaltoday.com. To have that. So these are some questions to ask yourself. And the point of this too is I want to set the frame of getting uncomfortable. The goal of this is like, I'm going to ask these 13 questions so I feel really good about myself. The goal is that I'm going to ask these 13 questions so I can get really honest with myself, okay? And so the first one is, where are you at, right? And so where are you at could be a different, what's the solution you want to solve? So when we went back to this compelling vision conversation, we talked about our compelling vision. We talked about who our identity is. So if I've decided what a compelling vision looks like for myself, and I've decided what that identity sort of looks like for myself, where am I at compared to that, right? And where am I at? I mean, anything. It could be financially. We open it up with talking about finances, the importance of money for the kingdom, and it is very much. Where are you at financially? Not in a good spot, in a great spot, confident, a lot of things working. Where are you at with that? Second question, how do you feel about where you're at? So it's the other part, is because if I can attach emotion, let's just say I went to Pastor Augustine and I was like, hey, how are you doing financially? You're like, dude, not doing so well. And I know you're not married, so your fictitious wife will say it. And I was like, well, hey, how do you feel about that? Like, well, I don't know. My wife's kind of bugging me for it. She's asking what's going on. She's concerned. I can find she's restless and stressed out. It makes me feel like less of a husband. It makes me feel like I'm not doing what I've told my wife I would do, that I was going to support her and build this family. And these are things that oftentimes we don't want to have with ourselves because it's not comfortable, but it has to happen. Because what happens is if something bothers me enough, I'm forced to move. But if I can continue to tell stories around that issue and don't address my feelings in that situation, I'll never make a move. So I have to make those moves. Next one is, how did you get where you are, right? We'll keep this in the financial side. I buy too much stuff on Amazon, right? Or I make emotional financial decisions. I've had a bad day and I go buy stuff, right? Or it could be about our body weight. I have a bad day and I go and eat. I had 5 Guys today. It was so good. So it's like, whatever it is, whatever it could be, how'd you get there, right? Now listen, bad things happen. I had a sickness, I was in the hospital, had crazy medical bills, like stuff actually happens. Some people like really have bad things happen to them, and some people are just stupid with money, right? That's it. Most of us are stupid with money, not a bad thing that happened to us, right? If we're honest with ourselves and say, I am being irresponsible with money, great. And we'll get to the other part of how do we get through that. Is where you are working or not working, right? So based on that, I could say, hey, Pastor Augustine, how you doing financially? Great, dude. Business is taking off. Things are, Brock, how are you doing? Like, Brock, I'm gonna tell you guys have a leader in this church if you don't know about Brock and being a total stud and building business. Like, he is amazing. He is amazing. So I'm glad God put you right there for me to pick on tonight because he is awesome. Don't take all his time because he's busy, but that guy is full of incredible information. He's amazing. And that's the flip side of it too, is like we had a conversation this week. How you doing? Where you at, right? And there's things, but the conversation that Brock and I might have about that isn't about how glorious everything is. It's like good. What do we got to work on, right? What could make this thing not work? What are the challenges? What are the problems? Because if I can focus on that, the good stuff keeps stacking up. But the exercise here is for me to focus on what I got to work on. Otherwise, like I said, I use the example of the guy and his wife. I've said, hey, what's wrong with your wife? Well, she's great. She does this, and she cooks this, and she's always loving it. It's like, I know, but I asked you what's wrong. What's the one thing that's holding you back, right? Well, we have trouble communicating. Okay. Why do you have trouble communicating? Well, she never wants to talk to me. How come? I don't know. Is it maybe because your approach is wrong? Well, maybe, right? So, and this is why I'm going down this, giving you guys examples of the depth of it. And the key thing of this is accountability to us. This list of 13 questions cannot end in other people. There's no way, maybe 1 or 2. So why is it working or not working? So if we'll go back to the financial situation, we can go to the marriage, we can go all these areas, the body being balanced business, they all work together. And if you're failing in one of them, it's a matter of time everything falls apart. Or you're doing good in one and failing in 3. And so why is it working or not working? Right, so what's going on? Why isn't your business working? I'm just, economy's bad. Joe Biden, dude, guys just hurt my business. I'm like, okay, how many sales calls did you make today? Well, today, none. Oh, how come? Well, it's leads. Your leads are bad? Yeah, leads are bad. Okay, what are you doing about getting leads? I don't know. I mean, just not really much coming into it. You calling people to try to find, no, like there's a story, right? And this is this is literally what I do for a living, so it's easy for me to do this, but there's a path that we have to go down with ourselves, right? Hey, with our health, how's your health? Good. Let's get your blood work done and see. Right? How would you compare your body weight in the last? Have you gone this way? You're going up, down? Like what does it look like? Right? And you go through there and say, well, why? Because I eat too much at night. Oh, okay. I have no self-control when it comes to food. Okay. But like if you could say that, like your steps closer. Because otherwise it's like, well, I got this thyroid thing. I've had some people, I got a thyroid, and then we pull their blood work. Oh, your thyroid's actually perfect. You got a discipline problem, right? And so getting clear on it, and this is the part I want to give you guys so you guys see it. I'm giving you examples so you don't fluff over it and nothing happens, right? And so, and then here's a transition. This kind of goes back to the compelling vision piece. What do you want? Right? And so in the health space, I call it like health confidence is saying, like, I want to know I'm healthy. I don't want to hide from the fact that I might not be. I want to step in and go, all right, what do I got to do? We got to lose this weight. Let's get your blood work done. Cholesterol's up. Sugar's up. Like, what do we got to do? We got to switch this, do these things because I want to have that so that I know I have this body confidence that I'm like, I'm healthy. Because how can we serve the kingdom of God if we are a liability to ourselves, right? We can't. And so God needs us to do all of these things. And and to be honest with you, he's asking you these questions all the time, but we're just getting busy or we're just praying real loud so we can't hear him. But these are all questions that he wants you asking yourself because he has all the answers. You sit quietly with God and he'll tell you the truth on all of these things. And he's done it for me. And so going into what do you want? And it could be, I want to scale my business. I want to go to this next level in my business. Great. Why do you want it? Right? And so, I mean, even Kyle, pick on Brock again, is asking him, like, why do we want to go to this level? First thing out of his mouth is how he can impact the kingdom of God. Cool. Yeah. Right? Like the first thing, it wasn't because he cares about other things. Like, doesn't care about the material things. He was just like, I can do more for the kingdom of God. Right? He has a compelling vision. I can hear it in his voice because I know what the sound is in the voice of I'm going to go do something as big as I possibly can do so that I can impact other people as much as I possibly can. I'm not going to go from here to here and then I'm good. That God doesn't work that way. He never said that. He didn't say, just go there and once you do that, you've done all I need you to do. Thanks for showing up. No. In my opinion, I feel like if I stop, well, God's like, well, might as well call him home. And I'm kind of having a blast down here, right? So even though I know where I'm going, it's going to be great. I need to have this part of my compelling vision is I need to go as big as God's going to allow me to go, as big as God wants to take me to go. But God can't take you somewhere you're unwilling to go, right? And you're unwilling to go if you don't believe you can go there anyway, right? You'll never pack your bags. And so why do you want that? How do you feel? How would you feel if you got it? So it ties into this anchoring, right? And so going into the financial piece of, if, like I said, if what you want is to be able to pay all your bills, you're missing the message. I want financial freedom. What does that look like? That looks like something like that young man I talked about. It's making 80 grand a year, and he thought 150 was financial freedom. It's not. Sorry, bad news. If that's what you're gunning for, you're going to be disappointed. In every area of my life of increasing my income, I got disappointed. And then I realized, I was like, I'm just not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go do as much as I can, as much as God's doors he's going to open, is where he's going to call me, the wisdom he's going to give me. I'm just going to go. I'm going to max it out so that I'm going to try to outrun the opportunity God's going to put up with me. I'm going to go so fast and hard. Because if I set a little target of like, if I make 100 grand a year, like, dude, you're going to get to 100 grand a year and be so disappointed. And so you have to go as big as you possibly can. And so with that, how do you feel? How would you feel if you got it? Make sure what you got is something that brings this major feeling. And it could be something like, I want to retire my mom. My mom has always struggled financially. And so if I can get, by me becoming the person I want to become, that I believe I can become in God, I could pay my mom's house off. I could buy my mom the new car she's been driving. I could do this. I can't do those things today. And going back to those emotions it makes me feel like I'm not as good of a son as I could be. It makes me feel like that woman that, fought super hard to get me where I was at, I want to give back to her. And if I don't do what I have to do, I can't. And I have to live with that. And do you think God wants you to help? It's in the Bible. Take care of your elders, right? Honor thy father and thy mother. If we can't do that, are we doing what God's asked us to do? It's literally one of the 10 commandments. Right? So, or we can have an excuse of, well, economy, Joe Biden, right? We can have these excuses, or we make a decision that said, whatever it is, everybody's got their thing, and so pick your thing, and whatever, you have to tie some emotion to it. And so, what is in the way of getting what you want? And a lot of people will blame a spouse, kids. I got 3, 4 kids. And in every situation, I will help you find or I'll advise you to find someone else with a more challenging situation than you who's doing it. They exist. Find them. Model after them. That's why I've read hundreds of books. Some of the best mentors I've ever had are people's books I read that were doing the things I wanted to do because I wanted to understand how they thought. I want to hear their story. Right? There's lots of people have tremendous success that came from a worse situation than you're in. Period. We all know it. And it's a reminder that every time we want to make an excuse of like, well, I don't have time, or you just don't care. Right? I think we talked about lazy in here, right? We got on that conversation. And so what's in the way? And so and sometimes in business it could be a leads thing. It could be a marketing thing. It could be I don't have the capacity. I need to hire some person. So, from a business standpoint, there's usually strategic moves to be made if we can get super clear on that. I had this question with a client of mine yesterday, and the reality was, as an entrepreneur, he is not disciplined in what he needs to do. And I explained to him a lot of entrepreneurs we're a bunch of cavemen with clubs. I'm one of them. I just want to beat the heck out of it, beat it. But sometimes we have to have the scalpel. We need to get down there and we have to do some precise surgery, right? Some surgical stuff, some detailed stuff. And for guys that like to smash everything with a club, that's super boring. And guys, there's also the guys that like the scalpel. And they're like, well, I'm just going to scalpel around. And I'm like, no, dude, we need to kick this thing out of the way. Those guys I got to get the fire into, right? Speaking of fire, Sam, did you guys catch noon prayer today? Dude, fire. I was like working on something on my phone, and I was like, is that Sam? And I got up, and I had to go into the media room to listen, and I've watched the rest of it. It was, and I don't know, I have never heard you preach with that much fire and conviction, but you said that word fire, which is one of my favorite words. And I didn't know, I was like, is he sit like, God, this is gonna be really creepy. So I preface it. But I'm serious. Last night, I was laying in bed. And, I was just thinking about you. Sounds weird. I was getting ready to go to bed. But I do this, pre-bed meditation. I'm serious, and I saw you. And God said, there is a lion coming loose in that man. I'm serious. It was... and then when I heard that, I was like, that's accent? Oh, I got the accent. But dude, you had some fire. If you guys haven't watched the noon prayer from today, go watch it. It was amazing. He might be giving Jonathan a run for his money. It was fire, dude. And it made me, I'm going to take it so far as I'll show you something funny that I did after that. As I got in the elevator when I went to leave, and I thought twice because, what's that say?
In case of fire, do not use elevators.
Yes. I got in the elevator to leave after that, and I was like, I don't know if I should get in here or not. Because Sam just brought, I was like, is that Samson? That might be a new nickname. Because, dude, so, yeah, I want to share that with you. Because part of that, though, is then in having to bring the fire into the scalpel guy. The scalpel guy to say, hey, we got to get up and go. Because it's like, well, I want to look at the numbers. I want to mess with the thing. No, dude, you're hiding in the details. You need to go kick the door down. Other guys are like, I want to kick the door down. I'm like, you got to stop kicking doors down because you're kicking them down and we have no organization, no system, and so there's a balance in doing that as an entrepreneur. And like I said, I was the caveman with the club. I had to learn to be the scalpel guy. And then when you do that, you can come in with the club and see what has to be done with the scalpel. So you're like, ooh, scalpel, club, and you can go so fast. Fortunately, not everybody's really good at doing that. That's why people hire me to help them do that, because I can do that quickly and I can address what kind of entrepreneur they are and help them through that process. And so that's what is in the way, what's getting in the way of what you want. Most of the time, that answer should be related to ourselves. And what would be required of you to overcome that obstacle, right? And so in the business thing, in that same conversation, if we got the club banging caveman, go get him entrepreneur, he needs to find somebody that can help him with the details. Because there's a part of that you don't like the details, right? Or it's, I want a greater connection with my spouse. Okay. What what's going to be required to have that obstacle? I'm going to have to sit down with my wife and say, I really wish we could talk more. I really wish I could feel safe in a space to share how I'm feeling and not feel like I'm going to be judged, not feel like you're going to go into offense, not feel like you're going to go into defense, right? That you're just going to submit to my feelings and where I'm at. This works in life too. All this stuff works in life. And these things, I apply these principles in all areas. Same thing with my body. Hey, Adam, I want to, whatever the thing is. Okay, I'm going to start doing this now, right? And so these are all things that these questions are all are super important across all, but I'm going to give you guys examples in a few. And so what must be done first, right? So same example, if I was going to use that question with my wife, is I'm going to schedule time to talk to my wife. It's not that hard, right? It could be like, oh, I'm going to do, should I get flowers or should I wait maybe Monday? No, wait, I know Friday, because then she had a long week, maybe Saturday. Oh, the kids got soccer. Dude, shut up. What's the one thing I got to do first? Get it, right? There's something that we have to do first. And then, and we're going to, you'll see these 13 questions kind of pour into the stuff that we're going to talk about. And then, how will I measure the actions, right? So whatever the thing is I'll use the same example with my wife, is how will I measure it? Did I schedule it yet? I had a situation with my son, like a challenging 15-year-old kid, and I feel there's this boys' rite of passage that I was considering for my son. And other signs are showing me it is definitely something needs to happen. He's just coming at the backside of 10th grade, and I think he's feeling real independent. And I'm dad, so I could do the best I can to guide, but I'm also dad, which is equal to the dumbest person on earth, right, to our kids. And so there's this boys' rite of passage thing, and I'm like, yeah, I want him to do it, but it's like in northern Idaho, so like logistically from like Texas, it's like like you got to fly. There's no direct flight. Rent a car, drive 2 hours. We went to this, but I'm looking back, and him and I did this father-son survival thing there. It's 5 days. You pull up, phone, watch, computer, everything in the car, zero technology, no time. Walk into the woods a few miles and sleep in teepees and learn how to like cut sticks to make fire and like survival stuff. And it was the most amazing connection my son and I ever had. It created a space for, at the end of the thing, when we're sharing like how much we love each other, like bawling. Everybody's bawling. Little kids bawling, dad's bawling, everybody's bawling. But the gift of that is it created a space that my son and I know that we now have. If we have to really get like super vulnerable and share, that space was facilitated by doing that. So I tell you that part of the story to say, I was like, hey, sending him to this boys' rite of passage thing could actually be really, really good. And I was like, and I mulled around with it. And then I went back to like, hey, Adam, what do you tell everybody else to do? Took action. So like in 20 minutes, I booked our flights, booked the Airbnb. I'm going to stay at the Airbnb. And while he does that, 'cause it's a solo thing by himself, I need to rent the car. It's the only thing I didn't do yet. And then, but I was just like, why am I not doing? I'm not practicing what I preach. I'm not living what I lead. It's in my heart to do. God's put it in my heart to do. I'm kind of surrounded by it. But my brain's like, but it's the flights. It's like, it's not convenient. Like, do I fly back and then fly back? Do I stay there? Do I rent a place? What's the Wi-Fi going to be like? This is the stuff I'm going through, right? Like, we will find, like, I wonder, like, we'll just think of the dumbest things to stop us. But I know on the backside of that thing, I will be like, thank you, Lord. And it all works out and it provided a way. And most of the things that we're stacking up piles of excuses and reasons it's not going to work, on the other side of that, we're going to go, thank you, Lord. We know it because we've done it in some area. We have to remember that so that we go through that process. And then how will it get done? Right? So these questions can be asked about multiple things. It could be my health. It could be my finances. It could be my relationship with my spouse. It could be how I have a closer relationship with God. Go through these same questions and ask yourself where you're at with God. All of these questions, same thing. Same thing, it all applies. And so next I want to go into the it's the raw side. So we just did the real, which this is the process of getting super, super honest with the situation, going through these questions with yourself. And then the next thing is getting raw, getting into the feelings, right? Getting clarity on the emotions. So if I said, hey, Pastor Abraham, how's the money situation? And you're like, it's not that good. And I said, why? And you're like, just, bills or whatever it might be. But I need to attach some sort of feelings. How do you feel about that? Less of a man. How do you feel like that? Well, I don't sleep well at night. That makes me tired. Like all these, like if we can, the problem is we hide from the pain. And if we're willing to get into the pain will project us into the promised land, basically, right? And so we have to take the time to force ourselves to get honest with the situation and get really, really clear on our emotional attachment to our current situation instead of ignoring it, right? And so that's the raw side, that's the feeling piece. I don't go super deep on the feelings in the conversation because it's all different for everybody else. You're gonna find that for yourself. And the flip side of the feelings that I don't want you to go into, and that's all I'll say on it, is to justify the situation, right? And so like I talked about seasons, like Brock's got a company that most people doing his thing are seasonal. He could make a decision to say, the season's changing, or he's gonna make a pivot to do something massive in a different spot, right? So we can make an excuse, or we can use that as leverage to do something powerful, right? And in the seasonal piece, and I'll go back to that because I mentioned in the beginning of, in a business, most businesses are measured by quarters. And so we're at the end of the first quarter of this year, which is, like I said, it's insane. And so if you don't set quarterly goals, you're already losing. We need to start it. We're going to set second quarter goals. Today is some of the stuff. At the end of this, you will be setting some goals. And so in seasonally too, there's a different thing. So seasons don't necessarily line up, but there's also seasons of life. There's seasons of, and we think of farming, right? And so I connect with this really well with how I do business. And it's biblical, number one. And number two, God showed me that's just how it is. He did it last year and he did it the year before. That right now, I am planting seeds. And if I'm not out planting seeds, if I'm not out making 100 calls a day, if I'm not out doing the marketing and building the funnel and doing all the things, spreading myself out as much as I can, if I'm just like, well, I'm going to call that one person and then like just hope someone calls me and my business gets going. No, you have to go crazy. The farmers, we think of how they work then. So it's the seed time, right? So right now, for me in business, and I suggest you to consider where you're at and whatever you're doing that's important to you, whether it's business, your body, your relationship, is planting seeds so that you have a harvest in the fall. So right now in this process too, and this you'll see where this can all tie into how you think through what we're solving in these things, is this is the spring for me, is I'm going all in. Crazy effort. That's why I took my little spring break. And I'm going to do another 6 weeks of crazy effort of building something that I'm not even, God might deliver, but I am not expecting a harvest today. Because if I was a farmer and I put that seed in the ground, I'm not expecting a harvest tomorrow. I'd be an idiot, right? We all know that we can't plant a seed and it sprout the next day. We know God can make some of that stuff happen, but I'm not going to plant one seed and go, all right, God, I got faith. He's going to say, no, you don't. If you did, you'd plant 10,000 seeds. So you have a 10,000 harvest, not one. One's to pay the bills. 10,000's to fund the kingdom. Where's your faith? Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Let me go grab the seeds. And so I use that analogy with you so you can consider that as you take action and think of the seasons so you don't lose hope, right? And the summer also isn't for pool parties and lounging. Summer's for protection, is planting these seeds, doing what I'm supposed to do in that seeding time. And in the summer, I got to make sure to protect it because it gets hot. It can get hot in that process. And so in the time of heat and discomfort, what am I doing to protect that, right? And it could be a seasonal thing in your marriage. It could be a seasonal thing with, the holidays. I think of like, for people, it's like, it's the holidays, and then we just crank on 50 pounds of whatever, turkey and gravy or whatever it is we eat. But the point is we can find an excuse to not do what we need to do, but the summer is considered protection. And if we do that right, in the fall we get a harvest, right? And then in the winter, we can rest. But rest isn't sleeping. Rest is, how am I going to plant the seeds next year, right? And so that's how I process my business as I look at things. Is right now is seed time, summer is protection. So right now I'm going to be spending more money, I'm putting more effort, I'm trying to spread myself out as much as I possibly can from an effort standpoint, and then I'm going to protect the things that I'm building so that that harvest that may come in later, because I'm not expecting a harvest tomorrow, later I'm ready for. And I'm already believing for it, I'm already seeing for it, I already know it's going to happen. God did it last year, massive harvest, and it was greater than I planted. It was greater than I planted. It was like, oh, I own that land with that big tall cornfield over there too? I didn't realize that. Cool. And then get the harvest, right? So, but I don't believe God would have done that had I not been willing to just plant. I'm not counting how many seeds. I'm not looking at the clock and how much. I'm just planting as much as I can. Doing everything within my ability, believing he's going to do something way beyond my ability. It must be done. And it can be the same thing I told you guys last time with like the nice text to my wife instead of the short, hey, cool, great, thanks, and sending longer stuff. Seeds. These are seeds, right? And even, I don't know if I shared with you guys that we took a little we're trying to do a quarterly one-on-one trip, which just in the conversation is like, oh, we're so busy. One of us is like traveling almost every other week. We don't have time to do the thing. And then we just planned it. And it was amazing. In my marriage, I talked about last night or yesterday, we were talking about it. Like, we have had a greater connection since that one just 2-day getaway that's exciting us for the one we're going to do in like another 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And realizing that the things that's like hard, we don't want to do, but man, when you do it, what God will do in it is so big. And he's just like, man, book the trip. Man, take the time. Put it on your calendar, whatever it is. Make the phone call, right? Make 100 phone calls. Got that 99th one might be the 100th one, might be the one that just changes your entire life. And so I want to go into, so we did the feelings. I want to go into the relevant action, which is a little bit about what I just talked about, but we're going to pull our phones back out for, if you guys have the relevant action. There it is. A little screenshot. So take a picture of that, and I'll just give you a quick walkthrough. I already goofed. I can see where I need the scalpel guy because it says, what will not do? I'm supposed to say, what will I not do? You see, I'm a club guy. But you guys got the message, right? So I could just wait around and proofread it and never got it done, or I just scribble it up there and scribble. And that's the real part. And the fun part about me with working with entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur and doing all this stuff is like, it's the messiest thing you've ever seen. And when you can love the mess, those of you have kids and like a house with kids or like pets, like sometimes I just stop and I'm like, what am I in? Like there's that part that's like, I just want this like modern, crisp, clean, not a dog hair, not a kid's flip-flop, like just this perfect situation. But the reality is I wouldn't be happier because I love my mess, right? And we can love our mess, but want to build upon that. It's good because that's a gratitude piece. We have to find that gratitude piece. I had a guy yesterday, he was in a bad spot. And he said, I want to talk. And I said, okay, I need you to write down 100 things you're grateful for. And then we'll hop on, and then send it to me. Then we'll hop on a call. And he's like, I don't need to do a call. He didn't have to get on a call. And that's something I would suggest you guys. You're having a rough day? Write down 100 things you're grateful for. 100, not 50. If you can only do 50, you're a crybaby. 100. It could be, you liked my shoes today. Like it could be something, anything you can find to be grateful for. Find something, and it just changes your entire state. And so with these, we'll quickly go through this. So the relevant is, what do I got to do? So I've got really honest with, I need to change my financial situation. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel like I'm living up as a husband, or I don't feel like I'm doing what I said I was going to do, or I'm faking it. Like that could be another part of it. A lot of people, it's like, I'm trying to look like everything's great, but like really it's not. Because I said your bank account's not going to lie, right? We can lie, and working with sales guys, it's always, hey, how much do you make a month? And they always will tell me about the greatest month they had, where they made 50 grand in like 2019, and I'm like, show me your W-2. Well, yeah, let's do it. Like with these, I mean, we get super, super honest, because if you're lying about where you're at, the whole process is a lie. How can I take you to the other place, right? If we want to go to, I don't know, Dayton, Ohio from here, right? And I said, where you at? Downtown Pittsburgh. I'm lying. I'm in Pittsburgh. You're not in downtown Pittsburgh, right? You're done that with the Uber where you kind of like booked close. There's a place I go to all the time. I always do it wrong because I did it once wrong. So it like picks it up. And I got to like go from this hotel to this like corner spot with my suitcase like an idiot. And I need to just change it, which I'll make sure I do 2 weeks from now when I got to go out there again. But it's always one of those reminders where I was like, I lied to Uber about where I was at. And so because of that, I had the consequence of shuffling down this bumpy sidewalk with my suitcase on a roller and carrying my bag and everything like that, when the guy would just pick me up right where I'm at. But I lied about where I was at, right? And so where are we lying about that with our life? And then with that being said, how are we feeling about that? For me in that situation, I was tired of dragging my suitcase on this bumpy sidewalk and hot and sweaty. But how are we feeling about where we're at? And then this is, what do we have to do to change? So I broke it down to body, being, balance, business, because all of these areas have to be addressed. So what do I need to do? So if we go to being, and I want to have a closer relationship with God, that could be, I need to start going to church more. That's not you guys. You guys are here on a Thursday. You guys are freaks. Love it. These are my people. But it could be, like I said, I shared the thing with me. It was I didn't pray with my wife, like an intentionally praying with my wife. It was just, we just didn't do it. I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. I realized I was making an excuse. And that could also be part of why I think we have a better connection right now than we did a couple months ago, right? And so what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? Is there something I need to stop doing? So in the weight loss thing, we could say, I need to start going to the gym. I need to stop eating after 8 o'clock, whatever it is, right? And what do I need to keep doing? Because listen, we're not all like screwing up, right? There's something, especially you guys, if you're here Thursday night in church, you're doing some stuff right. There's something inside of you that's doing stuff right. And so give yourself some credit for those things and keep doing it. Keep showing up, right? Like, you guys aren't a bunch of crackheads on a street corner that I'm like street preaching to, right? So like, give ourselves credit for what we're doing right. And that goes into that gratitude thing. I'll tell you, all you guys, make a list of 100 things you're grateful for. You want to have just a powerful, like, heart-crushing experiences, write a list of 100 things you're grateful for, you're truly grateful for. Just, it'll blow you away. I've never seen anybody not okay after that. And so that's the relevant side. So you're going to go through there and look at what actions do I need to take, change, pivot, keep doing, stop doing, in order to become this new identity that I've decided. Because if I want that compelling vision, I have to change the identity that I have today. In order to change that identity, I got some work to do. Because me standing here today, unchanged, will not change to be the guy I want to be, right? So we have to make that change. And so we'll go into the last part, which is the results piece. And there's one other question, though, when you get through that process that I want you to ask yourself is, and this goes into the what will I keep doing, is when I am at my best, I am fill in the blank. And so look at some of these things and think about this. And maybe I suggest creating 10 of these statements. Like, when I'm at my best, I am a present husband. When I'm at my best, I'm a patient father. When I'm at my best, I'm a loving friend. Like, go through it. Make a list of 10 minimum. What this will do is it's just going to help connect you to that identity piece that we talked about that we wanted to come together with for ourselves through this process. And again, remember, part of this is we got to beat ourselves up. The other part of it is we got to love ourselves a lot. Because if we really, really love ourselves, the beat up's not so hard. It actually becomes like this exciting part of the process. It's just in the beginning, it feels like you're getting beat up because it's change, it's growth. It's a lot of work to plant a lot of seeds, but it's also a lot of work to get a big harvest. And so think through those things. And so as we go through this process, we need to be thinking about that compelling vision. And we need to be thinking about that identity. What does that new identity look like? And we'll do a little small experience in a second. I'm trying to get you guys ready for in that process. But I want you thinking about these categories that are up there. Body, being, balance, business, or faith, family, fitness, finance. I switched to being, because I got some guys that are like, are you one of those Jesus guys? And I was like, you're not? No. They don't want to listen. And I said, okay, well, they'll come work with me, and guess what? They come to the Lord in the end. God really told me that one time. He's like, hey, don't lead with me. Lead with money. That's all this guy cares about. Show him the money way. Then he's going to learn core values. He's going to learn who you are. He's like, and we'll sneak that in. So, but look into, because God, I mean, when you think of I'm not, some of you guys may have grown up in church, and I've shared my story. Like, if someone would have told me, hey, let me tell you what God's going to do. He's going to have you be a total idiot for like 20, 30 years, living in sin, doing all kinds of dumb stuff. Then he's going to have you come to him and serve him and lead other people to Christ and share your story and all these other things. No one would, we wouldn't articulate that as God's plan. But we, these Thursday church people, know that that's how God works, right? He does do those things. He has a plan in all of this. And that's the part that I think sometimes the biggest disconnect is like all of this stuff is aligned with him, but he needs you to believe. He needs you to accept the identity that he has called you to have. This is who you are. You are a lion, an absolute lion. I mean, it was the weirdest dude. I'm telling you, that's probably the craziest part of my day. I was like, why am I thinking of Sam? God's like, there's a lion in that man. I was like, cool. And then today I hear you preach like I've never heard you preach before. And like, whatever that fire is, dude, do not let up. Amen. Double down, triple down. And I heard like you were preaching. I was like, you were preaching to me. I was fired up. I was ready to like come in and go. Can I go early? Because I'm excited. You dude, rewatch that. I'm going to rewatch it. Like that was awesome. But the part is, and I'm not going to pick on you and go into that, but usually there's a piece of us that's surrendering. Usually there's a piece of us that's opening up, and God's like, yes. Or stay here, stay guarded. I'm going to not tell the truth. I'm going to like, everything's okay. I'm fine with it. Marriage is great. And God's like, oh, surrender. Surrender to me. Surrender the truth. How do you feel? When we're in prayer, said, God, I just wish you could help me build these. Like, God, I am destroyed. God, I feel like the worst version of a man I could be. God, how do you feel? Like, this is what he wants. He wants his children to pour their hearts out. He doesn't want this protected version, because if we're going to stay protected, we're going to guard ourselves from him. And so this part of this exercise, guys, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. It's about breakthrough. This is a recipe of breakthrough. And the biggest thing that gets in the way between us and God is our willingness to surrender whatever it is. Whatever it is, our story of the past, our story of the current future, whatever it is. And he already knows. We know this. God already knows our situation. He's just waiting for us to come to him, vulnerable, unleashed, and just letting it rip. And then he says, because there's a power in that. There's not weakness in that. There's power in that. Weakness is the people that lie and hide and say, "Oh, everything's fine. It was good. It was great. It was great." There's a power in someone that's just like, like the guy that sent me that told him to do the 100 gratitude. He's like, I am so angry at everything. I'm furious. He just had a baby. I'm mad at my wife. I'm mad at my kid, not the new baby yet. But he's just like, I'm so angry. I don't know why I'm angry. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. He kept saying that. And I was like, well, that's not going to help you. Write down 100 things you're grateful for. Send it to me. He didn't even send it to me. He's just like, dude, that was amazing. And because we broke his state by doing that, but he surrendered his anger. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. Super impossible. And you also, it's hard to be angry and fearful at the same time. Or, I'm sorry, grateful and fearful. Sorry, at the same time. And we know that the opposite of love is fear. Right? All throughout the Bible, God tells us to not be fearful. But if I'm scared to sit down with Abraham and say, dude, I'm in a tough spot. Like, I know that things may look good on the surface, but like, I feel like I'm faking it. I feel like I'm not being the authentic version of myself, and that I'm lying to you. I'm not like, that is power. God is like, yes, he can work with that. He can't work with, yeah, man, everything's good. Cool, good to see you. Have a good day. Good to see you. Praying for you. Have a good day. See you. Have a good day. He can't work with that because that's not him. When did Jesus do that? He didn't walk, hey, what's up? Hi, everybody, high five. Fist bump. Like, he didn't do that. He stopped. He sat down at the well and he said, I know you're in pain, and I'm not even here to judge you. I'm here to love you and help you out. And he wants to do that with us too. Just because we're here Thursday at church doesn't mean we got it all figured out. You got a lot of stuff figured out. But it doesn't mean we got it all figured out. Actually, it means that you're hungry for what God can do. And your heart's open to what God can do. And you're ready to receive what God can do. And so I want to do an exercise with you guys. It's going to be a little different. I'm going to have you guys close your eyes. This will probably take 5 minutes. And I'm going to take you through an exercise that I do. So be aware. Close eyes. We got security here. You guys keep your eyes open. And I'm going to have you guys close your eyes, and I want to take you down a path. And this is something that I've done that's just helps people get clear, and it's going to help you get out of your space. It's think of it like almost like a guided meditation. We're not really meditating. We're surrendering. We're going to surrender some things in this process. And I want you guys, here's the deal. You have a decision right now of I'm just going to go all in and experience this, or I'm not. You have a choice. And I would say that if God is on the other end with a message for you, you have a choice. And he really put it on my heart to do this. So I want you guys to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and just let it out slow. I want you just to sit into your chair in comfort. Just be there. Realize that you're in a safe place. And it's a place that we want you to just relax. Take another deep breath in. Let it out. Just breathe. Notice your heart beating. Notice the calmness that's coming over you. Notice there's a curiosity that you may have never done something like this before. Maybe you're excited, maybe you're nervous. Take another deep breath in. Release. And I want you to feel the gratitude that you have. You don't need that 100 list right now. I want you just to start thinking of the things you're grateful for. And as you do that, I want you to just squeeze one of your fists. Just as like a physical, almost like you're squeezing your gratitude pump. You're sitting in this chair and you're in this safe place. But I want you to just surrender that in your mind, we're going to go somewhere. We're going to physically stay in this room where we're not going to get up. But in our mind, we're going to go somewhere. And we're listening. We hear something different outside. And it sounds like seagulls. And so we're thinking, am I near the beach? And we can almost smell, like it smells like we might be near the beach. Even though we came in to Revival today here, we're going to this place in our mind. So we're surrendering the reality of that we're physically here, and mentally we're going to another place. We don't know where we're at. We're curious, but we have an idea that it's near the beach. And in our mind, that curiosity is taking over. It's like a calling. We have to know. And not only do we have to know, but we feel the calling in our heart to go. And so in our mind, we're getting up and we're walking out the door and we're realizing it's great temperature. It's probably upper 70s, little breeze. It's a perfect temperature. And we feel grateful for that. So you squeeze your fist and just like that gratefulness of like, wow, I'm in this great safe place. God's leading me out here. I can hear waves in the distance. And through that curiosity, I'm thinking, I want to find out where I'm at. I know it sounds like I'm near the beach. I can hear the birds. And so about 50 yards away, you see a stairway that looks like it goes down to the beach. And so I want you to walk there, just enjoying the temperature, enjoying the beautiful sound of the ocean, the birds. You're kind of looking around, and there's no one else there. It's just you. There's no cars. There's nothing in the parking lot. Just a staircase that you feel called to go to. And you're walking there, and you approach the staircase. And there it is. You can see the sky. The sun must have just set because the sun's down. But it's that beautiful purple, orange, blue sky, low tide. So the waves they're not rough. They're calm, but they're still making that beautiful sound. You see the beach, and it's pretty much empty. So it's not a spring break or it's nothing like that. It's just you in this beach. And you feel called to go down the steps and approach the beach. Why not? You've been here all winter in Pittsburgh, and here you are at this beach, this perfect temperature, this beautiful night, beautiful sky, and you're grateful for it. I want you to squeeze your fist again, just grateful. I want you to physically respond to the grateful peace that you're at in your mind. And then you go down to that bottom staircase and sit down and take your shoes off. You're removing your shoes because you want to feel that sand. So you're taking your shoes off, and as you're sitting there taking your shoes off, you notice to your left, somebody is standing there on the beach. It's kind of hazy, sun's gone down. You can't really tell who it is. It's just one person down at the beach. And you feel this calling in your heart. The Spirit's telling you to go towards them. Go see who that is. No one else is on the beach. It's just you. Pick your shoes up in your left hand. You got to kind of have them hooked with your fingers. And you start walking kind of towards the water just to get to that sand, that harder sand that's easier to walk on. And the sand is perfect on your feet. Feel it in between your toes. It's exciting. You're having a moment where you're just like, man, after that winter, the challenges, how hard it's been, the cold weather, I'm so grateful to have my feet in this sand. And you start walking towards this other person that's out there to your left. And they're a decent distance, not too far, but you definitely, you can't tell who they are. It's really hard to actually identify male or female or young or old. It's hard to tell who that is. But you're walking towards them because you feel compelled. You feel called to go that way. And as you're walking, you're feeling this heaviness in your heart. Almost like you know you're supposed to be right here, right now. There's something in your heart that has so much certainty as you're walking towards this person that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And you're so grateful for that because you listened to a call. You listened to your heart to go make this move. And the entire process is beautiful. The weather's beautiful, the waves, the noise, it's just perfect. And you're approaching this person and they actually look really, really familiar. And the reason they look familiar is because this is the new version of you. This is this identity of you. You've stopped because it's kind of scared you a little bit because you're seeing a version of yourself. And that version of yourself, you see them standing there, but what you can feel is what they stand for. What you can feel is who they've become. The version of you that they have become standing there. And you feel that. And they're just standing there looking out over the ocean. You can see them, they're in this moment of just appreciating. They probably just watched the sunset and they're standing there. Their body is the exact body you want to have. There's a way they stand that you can tell that they have a confidence that you are seeking. There's just something, their stature, there's just something about them, that version of you that has everything that you want. And now you see it. It's real. Your heart, you might notice your heart picking up because it's so real to see this. And it's so exciting because you can connect with what this version of you looks like. But because you look away because you feel a little awkward and you're staring out at the sun, you're thinking these thoughts, out of the corner of your eye, you see this version of you extend their right arm and you look over and you feel welcomed. They're welcoming you to approach them. And as you approach them, they smile. They give you this smile that they're so proud of you. They're so proud of you for taking the steps that you've taken, that you're about to take. And they're proud of you. They're smiling at you because the confidence that version of you has in your journey, they're there. It's already real. And in their hand that they're extending out to you, they're holding up this rolled up piece of paper. Almost looks like a scroll. It's not a regular piece of paper. There's something unique about it. And they hand you that scroll. And then just go back to looking out over the ocean. No words are exchanged. No more communication. And in that scroll, you know in your heart there's a message for you. There's a message that God has shared with that future version of you. And you already know it. It's actually intimidating and maybe even scary to open that rolled up scroll. But you know you have to do it. You have to open it up. And you look down at the scroll. It's in your right hand. Your shoes are still in your left hand. And you look back at that future version of yourself. And you look down at the scroll and you begin to open it up. And as you're unrolling the scroll, you see a short message. It's not a lot of words. It's very, very short. And that message is a direct message from God for that future identity. And it's a message for you. You know it's for you. It's hitting your heart. And that message is what you need to take action on. And so what we're going to do is I want you just to think about what that message is, what that wording is. It doesn't have to be specific. If you visually saw it, great. If it was just a couple words, it could be one word. It could be a story you felt. But I want you to hang on to that. I want you to take a deep breath in, smelling that sea, grateful that God just gave you a gift, a confirmation of your future, the thing that you know that you need to do. Breathe out, if you haven't done that already. I want you to take another deep breath. Breathe out. And I want you in your heart to just say thank you. Thank you, God, that you would speak to me. Thank you that you created a space for me to hear your word. And thank you, God, that you're giving me the courage and you showed me a vision of who I am going to become through trusting your word, following your word. I want everybody to open your eyes. Just kind of move around a little bit. And so hopefully you guys had a little bit of an experience of seeing that other version of yourself. And when we can do this process, what I want you guys to understand about that is, in some cases it can be weird. Some cases people don't really get it. Some cases it can be actually profound. And part of this container I was setting for you guys was just getting our minds open to that. And as we go through that process of dreaming and imagining, we're not on a beach, sorry. But when we can go there with our mind and feel it, did any of you guys like just kind of have that, feel the sand? Could you hear the waves? Like, was there a part of you that you can connect with what that is? And when we can do that, we forget all the rules and the laws and the realities that stop us from dreaming and having vision. And we'll actually create more space for you to hear from God. And so hopefully, I want to take you guys through that. Hopefully you guys saw something on that message that God has for you. What I'd like you to do is to write it down or type it in your phone, take a note, pull out your notes, do something with that. Does anyone want to share what they saw on that message? I would love to hear. Anybody? Nobody? Okay. That's good. You got one? What's that? Amen. And so, like I said, it can be one word. I've done this experience where the word it just said go. But the reality was I had a situation that I was wrestling with, and I was like, oh, do I do this? Or maybe do I do this? Do I do this? And God just said, go. Oh, okay. Just go, right? And so there could be something, because we all have, there's things we can be wrestling with personally, whether it's an identity issue or some sort of challenge, some sort of problem. Like, this is a piece, I'll do this exercise where it's just creating a space for God to just tell me what he needs me to do, right? So hopefully you guys get some value out of that. But what I hope you take away from it too is being able to just sit down and get out of yourself. Get out of the place that you're at. Get out of work. Get out of kids. Get out of marriage. Get out of there. And it just create space for God to speak to you. I find once I opened my eyes to this, answers started coming to me incredibly fast, and multiple times a day. Where I do this sort of just quiet, put on whatever rain music, background type stuff, and just lay there. Don't sleep. I just lay there and just quiet my mind and just put the things to rest, the things I got to do. What am I packing? I didn't pack well for this trip. What am I but I'm just putting those things aside, because I want to know what's important to God. Because the distractions, they're going to come. And if you can spend some time doing some of that stuff, it's going to help you go through this process that we just articulated today. So I don't have much for you other than consider this is part of the seed planting process, okay? And so the protection piece that we're going to go into, coming into Second quarter is going to be about how we get momentum on these things. And so I want you to go through this process. So we had these questions. Do the homework. If you will do the homework and go through these questions on where you're at, how do you feel about where you're at, get super clear, whatever it is. Is it a financial thing? Is it a physical thing? Is it a marital thing? Maybe it's all of it. Maybe your financial thing is a marital thing. Maybe your physical thing is a financial thing. But like they all get tied together. I want you to get super clear on where you're at. And then I want you to go to the relevant piece and write out goals of what am I going to do. Commit to one thing in each one of those categories. The second slide. Commit to one thing. One thing I'm going to do for my body. One thing I'm going to do to get closer to God. One thing I'm going to do for my relationship, my marriage, or with my kids, whatever. One thing. One, not five. One thing I'm going to do to make more money. So the business piece. Could be start a business. It could be whatever it is. Pick one thing that you're going to do for all those categories. And once you do it, you add a new thing, or it's one thing you're going to do every single day. And I want you to set goals that you're going to accomplish by the end of the year. So it can be a body goal. It can be a relationship goal. Maybe get Pastor Augustine married. I don't know, maybe. Maybe, I don't know, dude. You're a good catch. Maybe it's, a financial goal, right? Brock, you might have a business goal of by 12/31/24, this. And it's not going to be something that, the goal shouldn't be something that's easily done. Like that gentleman wanted to go from 81,000 to 150. It's a cool goal. If that was his goal to do towards 12 months, then we have to start figuring out, how do we do that? How is that possible, right? And so I want you to think about what those goals are. Set those goals, because some of the things that we're going to be focusing on for the rest of the year is keeping you moving with those goals, accomplishing those goals, and hopefully by the third quarter, towards the tail end of that, we're hearing success stories. People are sharing testimonies of the steps they took, the things they did, the things they stopped doing to get to where they're at today. And we start seeing it, because that momentum will start moving everybody. I'll tell you, when everybody starts winning, everybody starts winning. But it's going to start with us all taking action together. And so a few more minutes, if anyone has any questions about any of that stuff that we talked about. Anybody have any questions while you got me? Who's got something? No questions? Nothing? All right. Oh, one. There we go.
How long have you been doing that, meditation?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I've probably been doing that now for maybe 9 months. And because what I was finding is I was finding these blocks. And the reason is because I'm like get it done. I'm the caveman with the club. I'm just going to club. And what happens is if I'm clubbing everything, what am I letting God do? Nothing. He's like, all right, dude, just go beat everything up. Let me know when you're ready. And so I had to quiet myself. And I was struggling to do that because it's like I'm impatient, right? The go-getter, ambitious, 100 miles an hour. That's how my brain works. And so for me, my problem wasn't motivation or momentum or like I get up at 4:30 and run 100 miles an hour till 10:30 at night every day. Love it. I'm so happy when I'm doing it. That's why when I was on the cruise, I was like, what do? I guess I'll take a third nap. There's nothing to do. Like I was miserable. I can't stand not being productive. But through all of that, I also can stop creating space for God to lead me. And then I'm doing it. I'm doing it my way. I'm doing it this way. This has got to be done. Why isn't this done yet? And then I say, you know what? I have to develop a practice so I can actually have God tell me what he wants. So I started doing that. It was so hard. First 10 minutes, I'm like, this is dumb. Yeah, but eventually, I surrendered to it. And then I would sit in that quiet space. And sometimes it'd be 5 minutes in, and it's like, God just drops this thing into me. I'm like, oh my gosh. It could be one phone call. Hey, reach out to Brock. Right? And it could be this whole thing that I was like, I could have never even thought of this. And so so when it happened, when I was talking about, last year sold my company, I had no plans to do that. launch this other company I didn't want to do that turned out to be massively successful. Like these two big things, these two big seeds that I planted were in that quiet time that God revealed it to me, right? And so at church and being Christians, we talk about, hey, you got to have that quiet time with God. Well, listen, yes, you have to have time reading the Bible. Yes, you have to have time in prayer. But you also have to have time to shut up. And not just your mouth, your mind. Our problem is not this. It's this voice. And guess who likes to try to weasel in there? The enemy. So when we shut up, we can discern, we start hearing, it's easier to hear God's voice. He's just, because we know he whispers. And if everything's so noisy, he's not going to hear it. So once I started seeing that, I almost became addicted to it. So it's like every single morning, I create that time where I'm just like, what do you got me to do today, God? I need to surrender because my calendar's full. But if you need to hijack that calendar, I want what you want, not what I want. Every single day, I just want to serve God. I want to be in his will, following his path, not mine. I'm a moron. He's the alpha, omega, the great, smart, like he knows everything. So I just want to be there. But I can never fully get there if I don't surrender to it, right? And so I started doing that. Even in the afternoon, I do that too, just to quiet my mind. And guess what? I show up better as a husband. I show up better as a father. I'm more present, all these kind of things, because sometimes that quiet time just is like, it's like just turning the heat down on the thing a little bit, right? But thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. The guided one's a little different. Sometimes I had to start with some guided stuff because I just couldn't get my mind to shut up. So I needed someone to take me down a journey of doing that, to introduce me, to see what happens on the backside of that, of me surrendering that piece of it. And so that's why I did that with you guys. Just sitting here quiet, like there's about 50% of us will not even be able to get what we're thinking about, last thing we ate, what we're going to do tomorrow, what our plans are this weekend. Any other questions that you guys have? Thoughts, ideas, anything else? Hopefully you guys found this beneficial. And at the end, I want to remind you guys that we started creating compelling vision, which is leading to this identity. And the biggest pieces that I need you guys to walk away with tonight is to say, I am not who I need to be right now to go where I need to go. I have to accept that. In order to do that, I have to create this new identity, which I hope you guys saw, hope you guys are thinking about. What is this new? What is the details? How does that person speak? Where do they eat? Who do they hang out with? What are the text messages they're getting every day? Right? I almost once a day had somebody telling me something about how I help them. That's more fulfilling than anything in the world. You get a text message, hey dude, 7 days sober. Hey man, thanks for your prayers. My grandfather's out of the hospital. That's what I want. That's my identity. It wasn't my identity. My identity was I want to get the good looking girl's attention. That's who I was. Or I want to go be the life of the party. Or I want to be the funny guy. Or I want to be the guy everybody thought had the big muscles. Because I chose that. But when you choose this new identity, you got to turn that ship around, and it's hard. So I want you guys to really get clear on that. And these things we went through today are going to be the detailed things that you have to work on in order to get super clear with that identity, because we need that ship to turn so that at the end of this year, we have a serious harvest in all areas of our life. This isn't just about money. The money game, honestly, is super easy. It's really not that hard. And I'll say, Brock, you've had a lot of success. Is the money game really hard? No. You just have to, but if you are not ready in your head, I forgot his name. Pastor, why can't I think of his name? Oh, I feel so, Kofi. God, I couldn't even think of his name. Sorry. Pastor Kofi, he's talking about that financial wisdom, right? If we can't comprehend, like that gentleman, wonderful Christian guy, he's like 30 years old, amazing husband, just sweet guy, but his wisdom of what he's able to do was 80 grand to 150. And in 30 seconds, I already saw a way. And I'll finish that story. As I was like, well, hey, what's the firm called you work for? He told me the firm. What do they do in revenue each year? I don't know. Who's the CEO? I don't know. Who's the stake? What do they own in the company? I had all these questions. In 30 seconds, I ripped through. He had no clue. I said, here's the deal. You don't care about your future. That's your problem. What? You don't care? Dude, you should be obsessed with if you're architectural, doing some drawing, whatever the thing is you're doing, you should be obsessed with, because look, if that company does I think he said they do $1 billion a year, this big company. I'm like, if you could do 1,000th of what that company does, you figure out, here's what you do real well. I can find a few other people to do things they don't know how to do, and I start my own little firm. Maybe I'm not doing big skyscrapers, but I'm doing, 4-unit, whatever it is, right? And you make $1 million. There's your $1 million a year, right there. Or a thousandth of it is like 10 million. I'm like, all right, well, what's if you did 1,000th of what they did? 10 million. And you're taking home 5. What can you do for the kingdom, right? And so, for me, it's a gift, the Holy Spirit gift of being able to see through those kind of things, right? And that's why I want to try to help share with you guys. But a lot of it is spending a lot of time with this process, getting my head to go there over and over and over and over and over again. What could I look like? What could I do? How could I help? What's my identity? Just constantly stretching and breaking the frame that I've currently created for myself so that it doesn't exist. The frame that I have today is fluid. It is not like, here's who I am. I'm a man of God, and I'm going wherever he takes me. And as my identity evolves, great. Whatever label comes along with it, great. As long as I'm doing what he wants me to do and I'm serving the kingdom of God. And I told you guys, I shared with you guys my statement of I am power and I stand for righteousness. So if it aligns with those two things and his word backs it up, I'm going. I know you had a question in the back. Sorry, tangent. Yes?
So if you don't see anything, it's something that you get more clarity on again over time? Doing it over and over again?
If you didn't see anything like in the scroll aspect of it? Yeah, so, what's that? You're saying you didn't see anything? Yeah, and so what that means, here's the answer for that. Oh, gotcha. That's good. No, that's good. I shouldn't have assumed you. I'm gonna assume is that your wife back? I'm assuming it was you. No. So here's what that is, and I'm glad you asked that question. It's a powerful part of that is usually there's a surrender problem. If I'm not seeing anything, it's because I'm surrendering. Or I'm sorry, I'm not surrendering. And so, like I said, I had to go through these kind of exercises multiple times to see it. But the revelation I've had on the backside, I have another one of a clock. It's the focus is with your eyes closed, focusing on keeping the clock at noon basically the whole time. And that distraction allows, because you're so laser focused on this in your mind, to see other things. And I've had God speak to me through that powerfully. And so part of it, though, is I had to surrender to first part of like, this is weird, this is dumb, I don't know, like whatever that part is, to also surrender, because when we went back to this feelings part, like we can struggle with just surrendering our feelings, right? Like if I said, hey, is anyone in here sad? You guys might not raise your hands, but maybe you are. Maybe if you stopped and you're just like, hey, I'm kind of freaking depressed. I am sad. I'm hurting, actually. I feel alone. Right? Like if we could go through that process with ourselves quick, because sometimes there's just, I don't know if you guys ever experienced it, there's like something in my gut, it's just something not right. And what it is I'm carrying something that I won't surrender. And if I stop, and like I said, I've had to do this myself, which has made me really good at it, to help other people do it really quickly with peppering them with uncomfortable questions, to get to the point of being able to stop and just go, yeah, I'm anxious. I could be anxious about, it's 25% of the year is gone. I don't feel like I accomplished much. I'm feeling kind of low. I'm feeling like I don't have someone I could talk to about this. What do I do? Right? Like there's things that as people we go through that if we're unwilling to surrender the depth of like who we actually are and the truth and our feelings, and with other people, that's a beautiful part about this. Look at all these people. We can all surrender to each other and share. I feel like I could come and share with just about any of you guys anything, and you're going to listen and love me at the end of that. I feel that way being here. That's why I love coming here. And I think you guys hopefully feel that way with each other. And in doing so, that exercise of surrender, especially as guys, dude. Look at Brock. Tough, dude. Like, you're not messing with that dude. He's tough. But it would be, I wouldn't expect Brock to easily cry and share his feelings with me. And it might not be something that's easy for him because he's like dudes like Vin Diesel, bigger and better looking. Like, there's a part of that. And so men, when I think of men, like we struggle at surrendering our feelings, our emotions, connections, intimacy. Like intimacy is me being able to talk to Abraham and him and I, he knows like it's a safe place. I know it's a safe place and that we can just surrender. And when we can do that, we can let that down, we can grow, right? And so part of that sometimes in that situation, I took it deep for you, but part of the big answer is a level of surrender of believing. Because at the same time, we could say the same thing of like, hey, I prayed for it. It didn't happen yet. I know. We got to wait. There's another part of that too, like through that process. So yeah, and there's just different ways of going through that stuff. It doesn't mean nothing's there, but there's a surrender of if you didn't see something that you have to get deep in the process of what you really want God to do, right? And so there's usually a layer below the layer we're comfortable with because that layer down there is super uncomfortable. And once we acknowledge that layer in our life of all of these things that we're talking about, right? It could be, hey, I'd like to lose some weight. How much? Okay, well, why do I need to lose weight? What got me there? What's my problem? What is my actual problem? Is it accountability? Is it my self-worth? Is it insecurity? Is it addiction? Is it anxiety? And that's how I express it. Like when we get down to that depth, it's super uncomfortable. And so part of that process is to help. When we start developing the courage and exercising, getting into the deep depth of the why, it's easier for us to get into that. And because, again, if God's like, what can I do? And you're like, I just need you to pay my bills. And he's like, really? That's it? Well, no, I actually would like to, there's something deeper. And so part of this surrender process, and it's a challenge, and this is why I'm so passionate about talking about this in the church, is that we just are conditioned to be surface and happy clappy. And I'm not saying you got to stand up here and share your darkest stuff, but I do think you need to find someone, whether it's in a small group, a group of people you can trust, a one-on-one, where you can just get super vulnerable. And what happens when you're able to do that is it's just skyrocket. I had to do that. I had to sit with myself and say, hey, you have an alcohol issue. It doesn't serve you. And guess what? It's going to be super uncomfortable to stop because you have to tell everybody why you don't drink. For the rest of my life, someone's like, what's that you don't drink? Like just the other day, guys like, let's meet up, have beers. And I just say, okay. I'm not like, I don't drink beer. Can I have an iced tea? I'm like, you move past the process. Like, and I'll sit down with the guy and I'll have an iced tea. And he might go, why don't you drink beer? And I got to tell him the story. And it's annoying. But I say that because there's this process that we have to go through in the identity shift, right? You become a Christian, your friends are like, hey guys, let's go out. I don't do that anymore. Why? You think you're too good? Yeah, I do. You think you're better than me? No, I just make better choices. Just being honest. And so there's a process of this, and that's big piece. What you guys take away is surrender and then surrender more. And that's why if you have a partner, and I don't suggest it be a spouse, I suggest it being somebody who doesn't have a skin in the game. Somebody who's like, man, I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to love you. I'm just here to not even guide you. I just want to be a place that you can get it out. Because when you can get it out, you can get it right, and you can go to the next level. And that's what I want you guys to have. I know you had a question. Yeah.
I was just curious to know what's your posture when you do it, and do you have a specific time of day?
Great question. No rules. You can lay down. You can sit. I do in the morning. I do that in my sauna where I sit. I just kind of lean back, and in the afternoon I lay down. So it doesn't matter. So no time of day. It's just a matter of, there's two reasons why I do it. Is I want to reset, I want to set my mind up in the morning I want to stop. I want to shut because when I wake up, I'm thinking of all the things I have to do. I get my calendar's full, and I'm thinking time zones and planes and all these kind of things. I'm never going to hear what God wants. It's not going to happen. And it may be at the end of the night, like before I go to bed and pray and some of that stuff too, but like I'm also tired. There's times I even thought about that share like 2 nights ago where I was just, because before I go to bed, I go in my closet, I have a routine, pray. I'm coming up on 3 years of that. It'll be this summer. And there's just, and I felt this, but I got clear. I got honest with it. When I was getting ready to go to bed, I'm like putting my phone and my water next to my bed, and I know I have to go pray. And there's a part of me, I was just like, I don't feel like it. I'm freaking tired, right? And I'm not embarrassed about that. God already knows my heart. I did it anyway, but it's okay because that is who our Father is. He wants to know that you can come to him and be like, I don't feel like praying today. I'm tired. I'm grateful, but I just don't want to muster it up. But I will anyway, because he will anyway. He will meet you. And so there's a piece of that sometimes as church people or stuff like that where I'm doing all the things, but sometimes it's okay to be like, man, I just don't feel like it. Or that, like I said, I'm talking to Abraham, just say, man, I feel like I'm lost, dude. I'm sick of walking into this church every week and pretending I got it together. I'm sick of having this one thing that people praise me for be the thing I gravitate to because I'm freaking dying in these other areas. And I'm scared to talk about it because I'm held at this level over here. And when we can change that, we all do it. I don't care who you are. We all do it. There's some times where I'm doing it myself. When we can start addressing that, this is when all this stuff takes off. This is when you have insane growth in all areas of your life. And that's the part I just really want you guys to walk away from. Because what I want to do moving forward the rest of this year is I want to build. But we're going to build on the truth. We're going to build on what we actually want. Where we're at, where we're going, who we want to become, and we're just going to build it. Like I believe like this room of people, and it's going to grow, are going to have massive testimonies about the things that have changed in their life through this process, right? Right now, I'm just opening up your frame. I'm just getting you to kind of, it's uncomfortable like that, this like guided meditation. Probably, how many of you guys have done that before? Right? Couple. It's weird. It's different. But I know it can be powerful. And how many, we talk about these things we're talking about. It's not typical church stuff. But what I believe that with this is all a vulnerability, surrender, peace that brings us closer to God so that we can be used for his glory in a massive way. Otherwise, we're always going to be holding back a little bit from a comfort standpoint. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Is there anything tangible that you have received in those 9 months from you doing that, like right now, or are you still waiting for your check?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, almost every day. I mean, like literally, I'll be sitting there and I'm like, in this place, I'm just breathing, and I'll get an aha that I can't like try to quantify how that thought got dropped into me, right? But I've also had situations where I was laying doing this, and I have to find it. I'm not prepared to have that. But I mean, where I just had an experience where I just sat with God, and God told me, I was watching this clock. I'll tell you the story. It was powerful. But trying to do this clock thing, it was a clock tower, and all of a sudden I'm in this city. God's sitting next to me, and I'm seeing these people walk by, and he says, they're lost, and I need you to go save them. You're not going to have to do it alone. There's others. But it isn't about you. It's about me, and I need you to get in, get going, and put me first. And I said, done. I mean, it was one of the most profound things I've ever heard God say. I mean, like when I came out of that meditation, I had to write it down. Like I said, I probably took a picture of it because there's tears as I'm writing that because it was so powerful. But I chose to surrender because I wanted to hear from God. And it was something so amazing. And that changed what I focused on. Because it wasn't about what I want to do. It was about what he wants me to do, right? And that makes it, like if God, think if God came down right here, right now and said, I need you to walk 100 miles right now, you would go. You would go. You wouldn't be like, what time is it? It's like, no, I'm tired. You would go. And if we operated our lives that way, number one, creating space to actually hear from God, not our own thoughts of like, well, like hearing from God and going. That's the fire that's inside of me. No one is stopping me. Nothing. I'm gonna have to get hit by a bus or something. Like, I'm not stopping because it's so deep in my heart what God has showed me to go do, and I'm just going. Unstoppable. And that comes from that confidence of knowing that God told you, knowing that God is speaking to you and showing you and creating a version of you, whether it's a guy could show you what a spouse looks like. And you're like, so she's blonde, she's 5'4", but whatever it is, cool. I'm not dating the brunette that I kind of have a bad feeling anyway about because God already showed me her, right? There's things that God will do, but we're like, well, maybe God's, he's just unsure. No, you're a wreck. God's not unsure. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? And so hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you get nothing other than bring your mind down, like I said, sometimes it's just, I come out of just taking that, you can call it meditation. I just think it's quiet time. It's shutting my mind off. And then I come out of that, and I'm ready to be an awesome husband. I'm ready to listen to my wife and just hear about her day. Like today, FedEx stock, where she works, went up. And I was like, hey, babe, did you see that FedEx stock? Yeah, I heard it. I was like, no, it went up. I mean, it went up like maybe 30%. I mean, it was huge. And I was like, yeah, this is, Q4 is going to be the last quarter that they have all three different services or to combine them. She's like, you listen to me? I was like, yeah, babe. I mean, really, like I just do the research anyway. Like I said, she won't watch this far into this thing because it interests me. But as far as she knows, she's the only one that told me that. And I listened and recited it to her, right? But had I not had my 3 o'clock, 10-minute mind break, my mind wouldn't be ready to receive what she had. So then I was later, I could recite it back to her. Now I'm an awesome husband that listens so much. And then she's going to think, man, I don't really listen to him as good as he listens to me. We just keep getting better. But that's part of this process. Like I could tell you all day long about how wonderful these different areas of my life are. And that's great. But telling you about where they fall short is also super important. And there's always work to be done, right? And we can just sit into that, and this becomes our habit. This becomes how we live. This becomes how we think, right? Like how it isn't like, I could say like, I think my marriage is better than anyone else I know. Does that mean I stop trying to make it better? No. I could say like, hey, I'm healthier than most 44-year-old guys, like my age. Like there's not a dad at the soccer, I got them all beat. Does it mean I stop? Slow down? No. Because God said, go. And he's telling all of us, go. Go, 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 go. And like you said today at the noon prayer, you were saying go. You were talking about the fire. Never let the fire up. Like that's it. And that's the part of this is like, if God came right here, right now, and told you to do something like he did with Moses and Abraham, you would go. You would just like, okay, period. If God said, move to Antarctica right now, I would figure out the fastest way to get there. And I don't care what my wife says. I don't care what my kids say. Like you have to be that burn the ships mentality with God. And he will speak to you because he's not going to tell you what to do if you're not going to do it. Hey, I need you to go do that. It's scary. So hopefully this has helped you guys. I thank you for spending the time and listening to me. And any other questions? Otherwise, I'll I'll turn it over to Adalis and her sparkly microphone. Thank you.